Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. It is your boy, Mike Lee, and we've got the one and only Mr. Phil Hurtt with us today. He is a songwriter, arranger, and producer. Phil was a member of the Philadelphia's Young Professionals in the early 1970s. As a lyricist, his quick turnaround and catchy hooks made him a sought-after commodity. One of his biggest successes came in 1973 when he co-wrote one of my favorite all-time classics, I'll Be Around. But his catalog is much deeper and includes songs like Sunshine, San Francisco, Hollywood, and many others. His work can be heard on records by Village People, you remember them, YMCA, Sister Sledge, Greatest Dancer, The Spinners, Jay-Z, Jackie Moore, and LL Cool J, and numerous others. Everybody help me welcome this phenomenal arranger, songwriter, Mr. Phil Hurtt. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. Was that me you were talking about just then?
Oh, that was you. This is you, and we are so proud to have you on with us today.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, you've written some incredible music, and truly one of my favorite. I was going through your catalog, and I'll Be Around. Just it's a song I remember. I was when this song came out. It was 1973, and I don't know if it was right at 73 or maybe 74, because it takes a little time for a record to come out and do its travel around the world and for the DJs to get it. But I remember hearing that song so many times in my household. My mother loved it. She would play it all the time. I'd hear it on the radio in the car, and I loved that song. What a beautiful song.
Beautiful song. It was a great blessing to me and the family. My children called it tuition.
Exactly.
And I'm still hearing
it. Was tuition, everything.
Everything was tuition, yeah. But still I heard it 5 times this week. Wherever I go, I hear it, and it's a blessing.
Yeah, what a beautiful song. How have you and your wife been doing through this COVID-19 and trying to stay busy and stay sane? And
we are fine. We're fine. We've been blessed. I just turned 78, and we're still
great, man.
We're still on the honeymoon.
Awesome.
Kids are checking in on us, and we got what we need. The Lord is good, awesome. So we're okay.
Very good. What part of town are you in?
We're in South Jersey.
South Jersey. Okay, yeah. Wonderful. You have an enormous catalog, but let's start with 1970 when you were a member of what was called the Young Professionals. Tell us about that time in your life and what exactly were the Young Professionals?
Well, let me go back before that if I can.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Before the Young Professionals, I was with Gamble and Huff. And before that, I was an independent. This is the mid-'60s, independent. Before there was Gamble, Huff, and PIR. And the guys that I was working with were all guys that you know, like Gamble and Huff and Bunny Sigler and the musician Norman Harrison. Prior to me going to Atlantic Records as a staff producer. So when I left the situation with PIR, after we did the OJs and Joe Simon and folks like that, I was going to sign, trying to sign Sister Sledge. They weren't called Sister Sledge then.
Okay.
With Gamble, but he didn't want to sign any children. He wanted any youngsters. So it was okay. I got an opportunity to sign with Atlantic Records as a staff producer through my friend LeBaron Taylor. And since I was leaving there, I needed a musician to work with. And Thom Bell suggested that I use his younger brother, Tony rather. And so it was Bunny Sigler, Tony, myself, and LeBaron Taylor who dubbed us the Young Professionals. And we started doing contract work at Atlantic Records. And I had a publishing deal with them. And that's what started that. With Betty Swan and the Persuaders and Jackie Moore.
Wow, okay.
And a few others. And from there, I did some independent work. While I was signed to them, they allowed me to do Little Anthony Imperials and just others outside of the contract that we had with. But it started, the whole thing started much. Matter of fact, I started writing a book. And the thing about writing a book is you start remembering so many other things that precipitated growth, like from the church and so forth and so on. But it's been a ride. It's been a journey. As a matter of fact, the joy is in the journey.
The joy is in the journey.
The joy is in the journey.
As a lyricist, you are highly in demand. You've been known for telling great stories and writing songs on the fly. You're also known for your very catchy hooks. How did you learn to create your sort of your way of writing, your sort of system of writing? How did you learn to write?
I think if you speak to any writer, any creative person, we really don't know where it comes from. It's a gift. It's something that I can hear a drum.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drum, rhythm of drum playing. I can start to hear a melody or a lyric. I know that Thom Bell is one. Like Tom can pick up melody out of the air like that.
Wow.
But then it comes to a lyricist's task to find out how to say what he's playing. How to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can give you an example of a song, and the song Backstabber.
Yes, sir.
The OJs.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That particular session, I'll never forget. Took time, and I can see Huff walking across the floor, trying to get Larry Washington, the conga player.
Yes.
How to play the congas, how he wanted to be played. He must have taken 25 different takes on that intro. On the intro, Earl Young and Larry Washington, get that together. And when they did it, it was fine. The session was fine. But the next thing I heard was those strings, when Thom Bell put the strings on top of it.
Yes.
We were in the studio, and that went to that. We were like, we knew something was going to happen, and it blew up. That session, that whole creative process that happened, it wasn't just one person here, one person there, but then the whole thing had to come together. The song with the musicians, with the arrangers, and then it had to, but it was just a beautiful thing.
Wow.
For me, that was the thing that really blew me away.
Now, a song like that, like Backstabbers or I'll Be Around, would you all write all of this in one room? Would everybody be sort of in one room, and it just sort of, you'd hear bass line or a string, and then someone would trigger this, and then all of a sudden you hear melody, and then the words sort of flush out?
Here's the interesting thing about the Philly guys. That particular album, I remember Kenny coming in and asking for some material for the OJs, and we were playing, Bunny Sigler and I were playing all this kind of stuff on him, but we had so many songs. And Kenny finally said, listen, we don't want any more songs for you guys, because we had shown them like 5, 6 songs. They wanted to do all of them, but we were limited to Sunshine and Who Am I? And then Kenny said, I want a song like When the World's at Peace. So when he left the room, I changed the lyrics to one of the songs that we'd already written and called it When the World's at Peace. So we wound up with 3 songs on the album. It was cool. But normally that would happen. You write the song, and then when you got in the studio, the musicians were freelance. These guys, you give them chord charts, you give them a feel, and they go for it. They get a feel for it. And then we come in, yes and no, want this, don't want that, and we cut it. Then the musicians and the singers would come in, and we put their track. And either I'd do a reference track, or Buddy would do a reference track. The singer would come in, he'd learn it, background come in, and they would put their parts on, and then the lead would do it again for the final take. If he didn't beat the first take.
For the final take, for like the ad-libs or what have you?
That would be added. That would be added also. But the final take of his lead vocal.
Yeah.
Because if we laid it down the first time, if he thought he could beat that vocal, we'd give him another shot at it. Of course, they always think they can do it better.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, because I've been in the music business a little bit, not as much as you, nowhere near. That's why it's such an honor to talk to you. And I always find that first magic that when you lay that vocal and that magic is there, you can never duplicate it. Sometimes you can get a good rhythm or a good groove, but that first take is always the magic.
First one, yeah, and you don't want to lose it. A lot of times people say, "Oh, we do it over." I've always said, like, no, keep everything.
Yeah,
we'll find out which one is
never erase that first track. Yeah,
never do that. That's too many mistakes. Too many mistakes that way.
Yeah.
But I know the first time I heard someone deliver a song for me that I had written was Eddie DeVert. Delivered a song the way I felt it, and that was a song called Sunshine.
Yes.
On that same album. When I heard him sing that, matter of fact, I saw him recently. I told him that when I heard him sing it back to us, it was like, okay, that's why we're here.
Wow.
And during that same time is when I'll Be Around came around.
Yes.
Linda Creed got married. Best thing for me ever happened in the world. I said, I hope you enjoyed yourself. He got married, and Tommy came down to the office and he said, I need some help. I said, what's up? He said, I need some lyrics on this tune. And I said, okay, fine. He gave me a track. And I took it home, and I was working with the Backstabber album track. So that was Sunshine on Rose Peace, so forth. And I started writing an idea that I had for I'll Be Around. And I did a interview recently with the newspaper in New York, big time paper. I can't think right now, but asking a question about how the song was written. And it was funny because normally when you write a song like I'll Be Around, the title doesn't lend itself to what I wrote. You know, it doesn't lend itself to a guy talking about, you know, I know you're going to leave me.
Right,
you know,
right.
Go do your thing.
And I'll be around. Yeah, I'll be here when
you. There's always a chance, a tiny spark will remain. Spark turn into flame, and love can burn. Well, you know, I was like, that don't make sense, but I liked it, and I wrote it. And next day when Tommy said, "This is it, man." And for me, for Tom to say that to me was like, you know, because Tommy's a stickler.
Yeah.
Tommy's like,
this
is what it is.
Wow.
What it's going to be. So that's how that came about.
That's how that came about. You had your very first, at 15, you had your very first single. Is that correct? It was called Frankenstein's Party.
Yeah.
What was it like to write your first song at 15 and Frankenstein Party? What was that about?
Let me back that up for you for a minute.
Okay.
Because my older brother Al was the one that started that group.
Okay. And because you used to sing with Al and your cousin, right? Right,
my cousin and some guys from the church and some guys from, you know, it was a whole thing. And that's why I had to write this book.
I'm sorry, Sarah Williams.
Sarah Williams, yeah. She had a beautiful voice. She only left the group because she was having a baby. You know, she was married. But Frankenstein's Party was written by my brother. And that was the other side of the song that they played most was a song called Love. Love.
Okay.
And that's the one I helped him with. Now, my name was not on there as a writer. I wasn't even thinking. We wasn't even thinking about it back in the day.
You were young. You weren't even thinking, right?
I was thinking. So he's got, you know, I was 15. He was 22, I think. So they put his name on it. I couldn't have been on it. It was fine during that time. But I did learn a lot during that era because we had an opportunity to go back and forth to New York and audition. And we did some singing in the area, different clubs. And one particular club we sang in was the Gold Room at the Teresa Hotel and right across from the Apollo Theater years ago. And going in and out of those offices, I learned who was in charge and who wasn't in charge. So when I got my opportunity, I knew what I wanted and didn't want. And there were things that happened as I did my whole thing with the music thing in the 50s and went in the Air Force after that and came out and found a whole new scene going on and continued to sing and work, meet my old friends and find out what was going on. That I used what I heard and what I learned in the 50s, what I didn't want, what I did want in the 60s, implementing it what I wanted to do in the 70s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was for me, that was it was like a opening the floodgate. You know, when you actually see how music is produced. Because where I came from, in my church, there was no music. It was all a cappella.
Oh, really? In the church?
In the church, all a cappella. It's called the Church of God and Saints of Christ. Now, the funny thing about that is there was a couple of groups in our sister church in Chicago came out of the same situation. The Flamingos, the Dells, some of that membership came out of the same. That's the harmony. So we learned everything by ear. And so it benefited us as we, you know, grew in the business. But it was so much that I learned in the 50s that I, like I said, implemented in the 60s and fought over because I refused to give myself away.
Right.
And it worked out. Lord is good.
Amen. When you were growing up and young, who outside of your circle of friends that you sing with and your brother and your cousin, who did you listen to growing up?
I listened to a lot of people.
Tell us who you. I'd love to know because of how you ended up writing and pushing out all these great songs.
I listened to a lot of the. How can I put this? They had a thing called the Hit Parade back in the day when I was a young kid. There were popular songs. There was Rosemary Clooney and you probably know their names now. But they sang those songs that had great lyrics in them, written by Cole Porter and show tunes and things.
Yes, yes.
And I did a lot of reading. I read early, but listening to those old songs, the Nat King Cole's,
Hmm.
Frank Sinatra's, those romantic songs.
Great
Uh,
song.
loved those great songs. Exactly, I loved those songs, and it always did something to me lyrically when I could hear a story being told, and I loved the violins and the whole
Yeah.
arrangements and everything. I fell in love with that. I loved it, and that's why when I can hear a string line or a drum, a rhythm, whatever, I can hear a lyric, I can hear a story. Then when we got to the point where I had to actually do that, it was fairly easy for me. If you give me an idea for a tune or whatever, or whatever I could do. Plus, I was doing a lot of background work too. That's a whole nother thing.
Wow,
I
wow.
got a chance to do.
Yeah, because at one point you were in demand as a backup singer, correct?
Yeah, in Philly, in New York,
Wow.
Bunny Sigler, Carl Holmes. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of groups that you listen to that it's not really them. It's us. Uh,
Got you.
I don't want to blow anybody's cool, but it's us,
Right,
and that's. I mean, the guys are most of the guys are capable, but studio recording is different than live.
right. Right.
And when you're trying to capture the mood of a song,
Hmm.
I don't want to name a song, but the mood of a song, the background has to really flow
Hmm.
with the mood of the song. And if you got some unblended,
Yeah, yeah.
there's something going on in the back, you want that smooth. And
Right, right.
so we would get hired for a lot. I did a lot of work in New York too.
Mhm. Wow.
With Yolanda's last name. Can't think of her last name.
There is a Yolanda Adams, the gospel singer.
No, it wasn't her.
Okay.
Yolanda McCullough.
Yolanda McCullough.
Frankie
Oh, yeah, I
Floyd.
remember. Yolanda McCullough used to work with Luther.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I wrote a song for a group called High Gloss.
Oh, I remember High Gloss.
With Giuliano Salerni.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to meet him, but Luther was singing background on it.
Yeah, man.
With Yolanda, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't get a chance to meet him.
Yep. I used to I'd buy everybody's records, and you go. That's the phenomenal thing about vinyl and buying CDs and records.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't wait to get in the store to get the album, and you flip that album over.
There you go.
Everybody that you thought that you wanted to. One day I want to work with this person, and one day I want to sing like this person. I was always looking at liner notes, and then I would compare certain albums with certain albums and notice this person was on this album and that person worked with this person, and you just saw how everything sort of worked and matched up and who worked with who, and that thing to see who was producing what. And back then it wasn't internet. You didn't have social media.
No.
You didn't have internet. You couldn't pick up a phone or a computer and see this stuff on the fly. You had to go into the record store and do the research.
And you could play it while you were there too.
And you could play it while you were there. Yeah. And hear it and read about it and everything. So I definitely miss those times. Technology is great. And what we can do now with technology and all those things are really great. But I do miss the authenticity of just being able to walk into a record store, smell the vinyl, smell the whole thing, and look through album after album after album, and not know what all these songs. Now you can just go on the computer and hear everybody's stuff and, know what everything's going to sound like. But
download it.
Yeah. When you would get it home, it was a surprise to you to hear track after track after track after track.
Right.
Yeah, and I miss those days, man.
I miss them.
Yeah.
One thing I like about the business though is that we're able to reach the entire world.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of friends that stay in contact with me in Europe, which is where and they actually read, like you were saying, they read everything.
Yes. Yeah.
So you may think they don't know who you are,
right?
And all of a sudden you get this mail, and you start getting people calling you. It's like, who are? Oh, we love your music. We love this. We love that. We know all about you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You get more recognition. It seems to be overseas, and you're doing your own.
Yeah, in your country. At one point you went into the military. Did you ever feel like when you were in the military that you would not, that you had blown your chances in music, or that you'd never go back? Or do you know that after military you were going to go back? Was that a plan for you?
That was my plan. My plan. That was my plan. Military was like going to college for me.
Gotcha.
It gave me a sense of who I really was. I was given some authority that I didn't know I could handle. 'Cause I was 17 years old when I went in, and 21 when I came out. So when I came out, I was ready to pursue what I wanted to do. And I tried that with my brother and some of his friends, groups called the Mohawks and Stage Masters. Locally, we were singing with groups, other groups like the Blue Notes were traveling the same circle, Bunny City, Billy Paul was doing the same club or area things. And I kept working, and one of my friends came home with me because I was writing letters. My last duty station was Alaska, and I was writing letters for my friends, love letters to their girlfriends, charging them for make a couple dollars here and there. So one of my friends followed me home because he wanted to write also, Fred Smith. And we did a couple things early in the mid 60s, on Ann Byers and Hunting the Bees and a few groups. And he finally got discouraged. He went back home, but I continued. Another friend of mine, Howard Ravitsky, that was the mid 60s when Huff was playing. He played piano a lot of our sessions. And as I continued just hanging around and being with the right guys and learning, because there was like I said before, it was a whole bunch of talented guys there. But what happened was they started doing this. When they started meeting and coming together, then that was the flow.
That was the flow.
And everybody, guys who were musicians became arrangers. They learned and they grew. Guys who were drummers, became leaders of groups. I'm looking at Earl Young and the Tramps. But Earl can sing a little bit too, though.
Wow.
They're still out there doing "Burn, Baby, Burn."
Disco Inferno, right?
Yeah. Hey, that's the way it is.
That's a great song. So by now you're out of the military, you're writing, and you meet Leroy Lovett, Gamble, and Huff, with whom you began a working relationship with. How did this impact your life and career? Meeting all of these.
Well, that was the impetus. That was not the impetus. That was the base. That was the launching pad. That's what that was, the launching pad. Because working with Leroy Lovett, and I said before, Huff was working with them also. They had an offices that they had, or now became Gamble and Huff's offices. But Leroy Lovett was an arranger, excellent arranger, and Frank Bendinelli was his partner. Learned a lot working with them, and I said before, Ann Byers and a few other groups they had. I think Huff was doing the Persianettes. I think it was the Persianettes he had. But that was the beginning. I remember when I think Mercury Records owned that office where Leroy Lovett was working at. And when they closed it, Huff came to me and said, I want to work with you because I know I like your lyrics. Now, I was shook.
Huge compliment.
This dude already had some cred, you know what I'm saying? And I was kind of late in getting back to him because I wasn't sure. Could I handle this? And in the meantime, he met Gamble. But that was great. I said that was fantastic, and that was that story. But it helped me because it opened the door, being there with all of the other creative guys that were there. And that's the time when they had the Chambers Brothers coming in, and they had O.C. Smith coming in, and they had Nancy Wilson coming in, and they had different people coming in. And we didn't always get a shot at them, but when they needed us to do something, Bunny and I were in the side office.
Just waiting.
We called it the Madhouse. So we had like the cruises would come in, and the vibrations would come through, and all the local acts would come through. And I remember sitting in the room with Bunny Sigler, myself, Linda Creed, Vinnie Barrett, Bobby Eli, sitting in the room trying to write one song.
Wow.
I said, you know what, guys? By the time we chop this money up, I'll give you my ideas. Y'all can go ahead and take it. It was about 7 of us in there trying to write this one song. But it was good. It was good. But it helped me. That was the beginning for me in terms of my professional career. That was a good launching pad for me.
Wow, that's incredible.
But I remembered that I did not want to give all, leave all. I mean, I wanted to come away with something. I'd seen as a teenager what it did to a lot of the groups that you would think would retain something of themselves. They signed it away or gave it away, or was stolen. And it happens regardless. I mean, I could tell you some horror stories. That's why I've been commanded to write this book.
I'm so
because
glad.
You would think that people that you come through with, they learn all the bad habits, but then they apply them
Right.
the same habits that they fought through, and they know you fought through. They apply them. Come on, man.
Right.
You
Right.
know, but it is what it is. God is good. Not
Yeah.
worried about it.
And these things still happen today in small
Yes.
in
Yeah.
different quantities, and it's kind of the same system but at a different day and time. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, Tell us a little bit about your. You met these incredible women, young girls, the Sister Sledge. I'm a huge fan of Greatest Dancer, and so many great songs that these girls sang. I remember when they emerged on the scene, and you're responsible for them getting signed. And I didn't know that. So tell us the story about your relationship with Sister Sledge and discovering them.
My babies.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I refer to them as my ulcers.
Oh,
They all have numbers. they they had. Um, I was touted onto them by my ex, who passed away,
mhm.
who worked with their mom. They would always tell me, we got these girls. You got to come listen. You got to come listen. You got to come listen.
Mhm.
So I went to a barbecue
Mhm.
at their home, and the girls were singing. And after they sang in the yard, they came into the house and they said, "I want you to meet the girls." They all came in,
Mhm.
and Kathy walks in the room on her hands.
Are you kidding me?
She walks in the room on her hands, and I was like, "Okay, this is interesting."
That's right. That's new.
So they sang again for me, and you got nice voices. They got a nice blend and everything. There's certain blends that families have.
Right. That's so true. Yeah. Yeah.
When they're related,
Yeah.
they have that certain blend.
Yeah.
So I listened. I said, "Okay, fine." And I said, "Where are you guys performing?" And they said, "Yeah, we're performing at a place called the Scabadoo,
Mhm.
which was at 13th and Locust. That was years ago." So I got my friend LeBaron Taylor, who signed us to Atlantic Records. He was A&R director then, VP. I got him to come to the club with us to listen to the girls, and he listened to the girls. He loved them. It's fine. So since I couldn't get the girls signed with Gamble, and I was leaving Gamble's, I took them with me to Atlantic Records, and LeBaron signed them.
Wow.
And then we went through this whole process of working out material for them. And what I was trying to do was find what each one could do, which each voice represented. So we wrote 3 songs, one for Debbie, one for Kathy, and one for Joan.
Mhm.
And I was about to do one for Kim. Kim was a shy one. So we cut those songs, and we cut a few standards, and we did Neither One of Us Wants to Be the One to Say Goodbye, the same one that Gladys cut. And I heard Kathy singing that, and I couldn't believe it that she was 13 years old singing Neither One of Us, because she has a smoky quality to her voice. They're all rascals during that time. They were rascals. I mean, you couldn't keep their concentration. But when you put them on a microphone,
Yeah.
they would lock in. They would take the direction, everything. They were fine.
Mhm.
When Kathy sang that song, I realized there was more there that we could do. So they put the records out on. They put Weatherman out. They didn't put much behind it. But the first song they dropped on them was a song called Mama Never Told Me.
Mama Never Told Me. Yeah.
Mama Never Told Me. And I was asked about that song. I was watching the relationship between the girl and their mom, Flo, how she would always tell them things, how to do this, how to comport themselves, how they should be, ladies and so forth and so on. And so I just started writing the tune, the idea for the tune. And I got my boy Tony, and I would just start singing some stuff to him, shibby-dibby-dibby-doo-bop-bop, little thing, and talk to the kids. And I had written in there some things that we relate to how their mom raised them. And I threw one in there, but Mommy didn't tell me about the quiet man. He wound up being my daddy. He was a quiet man. But that was that's how we did that. And there was a point in time when they didn't have a name. It was the Sledge Sisters. And we were noodling one day about, Flo was asking, what should I call it, Kathy and the Sledge Sisters, and da-da-da. I said, no, let's not do that. I had an idea, because their grandmother was a gospel singer. And I remember Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the gospel singer.
Rosetta Tharpe, yeah.
And I said, why don't we call them Sister Sledge? So they won't know whether it's a person or a group, but they're still all one.
Yeah.
So
Family.
Flo said, "Are you sure about that one?" I said, "Let me call the B." So I called the Baron. I said, "I'd like to name the girls Sister Sledge." He said, "Sounds fine to me."
Yeah.
And that's what I don't know if they realize that. That's where the name came from. That worked out. Unfortunately for us, I got into a battle with the A&R director that was up there at the time, and he took the girls. He terminated my contract. That's cool. But he was going to drop the kids. And I got on the telephone and I called him and I said, "I want you to drop the kids because they're going to go to CBS." Because LeBaron Taylor had made the transition from Atlantic Records to CBS. Mm-hmm. So I was going to take the girls to Columbia Records. Mm-hmm. So, but he wouldn't do that. He re-signed them anyway.
Out of spite, right?
Yeah. But a number of years later, he kept them. And look what happened. We are family. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
God moves in mysterious ways. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So yeah. I'm glad for him. But I see them now, and we lost Joan. Yeah. I got a little note from Kathy, and she said, "Don't feel too bad. You still got 3 ulcers left."
Right, 3 ulcers. Oh. Great. I still see Kathy out and about doing great work with some of the girls from like and some of the other like Martha Wash, and I see them all out doing things. So I'm glad to see her out.
Yeah,
that voice, man, because she has a distinctive sound.
Yeah. And she sounded like that when she was 13, and that's what blew me away. You gotta have you heard her sing that?
Well, not the Gladys Knight song, no.
Oh, that was done years ago.
But the strange thing is that album that you were just talking about, what was the song? Mama
Never Told Me.
Mama Never Told Me. There was a movie that was done, and they used that entire album as the score.
Really?
Yeah. That movie was an independent movie put out by I think Ian Allan Polk, and it was a very interesting movie. But they used the entire that album.
I have to look that up
as the backdrop of that movie.
Yeah.
And
awesome. Good to hear.
Yeah, and it was just great to hear you because I hadn't heard the story behind that. So as you were telling me that story, I was thinking about that movie and tying it all together, and I enjoyed that story. What was it like working with Richie Rome? He arranged one of my favorite songs by the Jones Girls called Nights Over Egypt.
Nights Over Egypt.
I love that song. Man, I would listen to that song over and over and over. And I didn't know that Richie was the arranger of it until I started doing the research on you. What was it like working with that guy? He must have been crazy and just brilliant and all the things that make
You're right. Richie was a guy I think that most musicians feared. Richie Rome sessions, his string and horn sessions were challenging to say the least. Wow. I remember Don Ronaldo. Whenever he saw Richie come into the studio, he would moan and groan because he knew they would play up in what they call nosebleed territory with a string.
Right.
And it would be intricate.
Would he make you do them over and over, or would it just be that it was so intricate that you want to just lose your mind?
These guys, look, they lost their minds. Trust me. They would say, why is he writing like this? But they would all sit on the edge of their seats. All of them, they would sit on the edge of their seats and just get ready for Richie Rome because they knew he was coming. When he got there, he worked them. I mean, it was beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. I mean, he did.
You hear the track of Nights Over Egypt when it comes on and it just sort of slowly comes in. And then all of a sudden that bass kick in, dun, 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 and it just boom, boom, boom.
I tell you something.
Like you chilled.
I'm telling you, I'm guaranteeing you that what you heard in that mix is less than what Richie Rome actually did. Because he always gave you a whole lot of stuff. He said, if it gets in the way, take it out. Because he would have stuff all over, but beautiful. I mean, what a great idea, but we can't hear the girl, or we can't hear the guy. Oh man, how are you going to get through that, But you just have to mix around.
Feel a way to get to the good.
To get to the meat.
Wow.
He did it all the time. Awesome guy, man. Awesome. Wow. I used to call him Magic.
When you wrote the, again, my favorite song, I got to go back to "I'll Be Around." What inspired that song when you were writing it?
That's one of those things that popped into my head. That storyline I was talking
Uh-huh.
about the guy who lost the girl
Yeah.
and was strong enough to say, "Hey, look, I know you got to do what you got to do. That's how you feel. I think you're making
Right.
a mistake, but just
Yes.
in case it don't work out, I'll be around." You
Mm,
know, because like I said, you never know.
mm,
A
mm.
tiny spark maybe remain, and sparks turn into flame. Love
Absolutely.
can burn once again.
Mm.
That was. It's just one of those things that you know
Yeah. Yeah.
just popped on me. And I
Wow.
was in the middle of writing for the OJs at that time, that Backstabber album stuff.
Uh-huh.
We were doing that at the same time.
Wow.
Um,
You were a singer writer at the time. Were you also the business? Did you? Well, you did. You reiterated. You talked about this earlier. The behind the scenes stuff, royalties, knowing where your money was coming from, knowing when you were going to get paid. So, were you as smart in the back of the house as you was in the front of the house when it came to just knowing about the business of music?
that was the big battle for me.
Uh-huh.
I had two choices: I could conform, or I could
Uh-huh.
rebel to conformity. I
Yeah.
refused to follow the path that a lot of guys had followed.
Yeah.
Financially, I could have been a lot better, but I'm not hurting. I mean, praise the Lord, thank
Mhm.
God.
Absolutely.
Um, Financially, I could have done better,
Mhm.
but I could not have lived
Yeah.
with myself, for my family,
Yeah.
um, if I had conformed to what the lifestyle was.
Right.
And the lifestyle is what causes you, if you're not careful, to fall into the rest of it, because you start agreeing to things and that's okay things and you wind up at my age and
Mhm.
even younger realize you made too many mistakes.
Many mistakes.
Wasn't paying attention, but thank God what I saw happening in the 50s I could implement in the 60s
Hmm.
and benefit in the 70s and throughout,
Yeah.
and still got burned. I mean, I'll tell you some horror stories you would not believe,
I can't
but
wait to hear.
it could have been could have been a whole lot worse. I have to, because it's people, if it's going to help somebody, it's going to bless somebody.
Well,
Uh,
you know what? I'll tell you this. For people like me, I'm a music lover. I appreciate artists that have paved the way for so many other different artists and music. Now, music is it's something that brings us all together in the world. Writers, songwriters, people who create music, they do have a gift. You guys have a really a gift, and that I do believe that gift is from God. It's from a
oh, for
higher
sure.
power. And what it does is it unifies us. It makes us feel good. It makes us want to get up on Saturday and clean the house, or it makes you want to make love, or it makes you want to dance on the dance floor, or sometimes it just makes you want to think.
Yeah,
And that's the beauty of a songwriter and music. So I just love the fact that when you talk about writing a book, I would
yes,
love to go way back there because I'm a child of the 60s, but to go back in the 50s and to read about what was going on with those things, because when you are a music lover, you get the joy of knowing what happened,
hmm
why it happened, and then you compare it with where we are today. It's a part of our Black history and a part of our legacy with our music, knowing who our musicians and our writers, you
yeah,
know,
it's
are.
important.
A lot of people who were not in front of the mic all the time, but who were really the part of the machine that pushed out a lot of great hits. And you were
Yeah,
one of those people for sure.
if you look at history, you'll find that a lot of people who actually did the work, their names have been replaced.
Yeah.
The credits have been replaced, and they're still doing that.
Wow.
They're still doing that. There are people who came in Philly that came in and they used the musicians.
Mm-hmm.
They would say things like "play something,"
Mm.
or they would say "la la 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 la," play something behind this, la la
Uh-huh.
la la la, and then they would go find somebody like me and say, "write something over top of this. Give
Uh-huh.
me, And then when you look at it, it says they did it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then when you start to argue and to go back and forth about it,
Right.
it becomes it's nonsense because they Don't get me started.
You know, I know. Yeah, I know those.
It's nonsense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, don't. That's like, it's like for me, and I'm sure a lot of writers feel like this. When you give something from your heart,
Yeah.
it's like your baby. It's
Yeah.
like my girl, I call my ulcers. I don't care what Sister Sledge does. They will always be my babies and my ulcers. Yeah,
Right.
that's what they actually are. I love them dearly.
Right.
But so when you give birth to something, you don't want somebody to come and steal your baby.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you listen to stuff and you're saying, that's not, And I come to the defense of writers who have passed on. When I hear certain things about them, I say, that's a lie.
Right.
That's not true.
Wow.
Oh, there's a lot of that going on. I'm sure you're in the business, you know what I'm talking about.
It goes on today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to ask you a few more questions before we leave. What are some of your favorite songs that you've written? Just a few. I know it's way too many.
Whoa.
What are some of your favorite songs that you've written that you go, I like hearing that song?
Oh my goodness.
That's my jam. That's my song.
Let me see. How many songs have I written? First of all, you probably never heard some of these songs. But of course, "I'll Be Around" is
yeah.
I mean,
great disco song, boy.
Yeah. Well, that whole Village People stuff was a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's a story in itself. That's a whole nother.
Yes.
That's another interview.
Ritchie family. The Ritchie family.
Oh yeah. My girls, they're sweethearts. Ritchie family. They were named for Richie Rome, by the way.
Well, okay.
That's where the name came from, Richie Rome.
Oh.
That's another story.
Wow.
You want to call me back again?
Oh, you got to write this book, man. Yes.
But hearing Eddie Levert sing "Sunshine" is one. Mama never told me about the girls. I like to listen to. There were some songs. I'm gonna tell you this. You're not gonna believe this, but I want you to go back and listen to a song called "Some Guys Have All the Luck."
Oh, I remember that song.
Yeah, but by the Persuaders. Now you won't see my name on that song, but I wrote it. Oh
wow.
That's another story. Okay. Listen to the lyric of the song.
Okay.
And that's my lyric. And all of it is my lyric, except for one thing, the title.
Okay. I'm going to listen to that after we finish.
That's a whole battle.
Okay.
That's a battle. That song, there's a song I wrote for a group called the DuPonts. It was called "If You Can't Think of Anything Else." And there was one I wrote for Little Anthony Imperials.
Okay, I remember.
Baby.
Yeah.
Who is it, babe? Talk to me. You said it. Sweet Charlie, babe. She's talking about Sweet Charlie, babe. She like for Jackie Moore, Sweet Charlie, babe. There was one that made me forget too. Oh my goodness. These favorites. I'm trying to pull favorites out of all these songs.
I know.
Another song I wrote for Eddie Kendricks. Thanks for the Memories.
Oh, okay.
It's on the Going Up in Smoke album.
From Alabama.
Yeah. That's a funny story too.
Wow.
Put that in the book. Who else up there? Who else is there? Oh, the Village People. That's a whole other story.
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of covers. A lot of covers.
Have you noticed your music being sampled a lot? Jay-Z sampled you in LL Cool J, correct?
Jay-Z, LL Cool J, Lil Wayne, Christina Milian. Yeah, Milian. She just say I. Who else is it? Comrade Diplomats, I think they call them.
Yeah.
Biggie.
So that must be great to have the music reintroduced to a whole different audience and to benefit from that as a writer.
That is an awesome thing. I had a group out of I think they're from Sweden redo a Betty Swan song that we did. They call it Peanut Butter Jelly now. It was turned out to be a monster. But what I did in the 60s, held on in the 70s through the 80s, I held on to ownership of the copyrights. I made a deal. So those were beneficial to me as a writer and as publishing also.
Wonderful.
And that's one of the lessons that I sort of learned and carried through.
Very good.
That song turned out to be a monster.
Yeah.
I think it's got like 2 million.
Wow.
No, 112 million plays or something on YouTube.
So 112 million streams. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's great.
Maybe more than that.
Oh, I'm sure.
But those kinds of things. It must be other songs I'm forgetting because I've written,
So many, yeah.
A lot of songs.
Favorite. Some of the ones that I'm very fond of. What do you miss the most about the early days of songwriting and the fellows and your brother and
that like I said before, the joy is in the journey. You know, I remember wanting to hear myself on the radio, hear a song on the radio, and I thought that was the end all and be all of the music business. You know, we're going to sing on stage. That was the whole thing. We have made it. And every time you get to a certain level, you want something else. I want a gold record. You get a gold record, then you say, okay, I want another one. So you get another one. And you go, okay, what's left? And we'll continue to write. So the thing that I remember is the joy in the journey. And the thing I regret is the change in the music, because the change kind of pushes the old guys away. You know, they start using the technology and the style of music changes, and every generation has its own, which is a great thing. But I like the idea, as you said, of being remembered through these samplings.
Yes.
And I'm not mad with anybody about a sample.
Amen. Right.
I can get
sampling, right? Sample as much as you want.
As much as you want. I don't have no problem with it.
Lastly, before we go, in 2007, you became involved in a project involving soul artists from Detroit and Philadelphia and called A Soulful Tale of Two Cities.
Get that from here off the table. Let me tell you something. Yeah. That was, it was a dream that I had.
Wow.
I don't know how much time you got. That's a whole nother story.
Wow.
But it was a dream that I had about bringing the Motown guys together.
Okay.
To sing the Philly stuff.
Oh, beautiful.
And the Philly guys to do the Motown stuff.
Oh, man.
I'm going to send this to you. Oh, there's a double record.
God, look at that. Wow.
I'm going to send it to you. But I can hear these guys doing this. And
give me chills to look at that box set, because it just looked like so much history and effort.
There's a book in here.
Wow. And a book.
And a book in here, a little book. And we brought together the Funk Brothers with some members of MFSB and some of the artists, 3 Degrees, and we had, on the Philly side, we had Russell Tompkins, we had Will from the Delphonics, we had Ted Mills from Blue Magic, we had Bunny Sigler, we had who else was on that? I had so many people, man.
I lose my mind, man. I can't wait.
Then we went out to Detroit and got Bobby Taylor. We got the Velvets. We got oh man, I can't think of all these people. Frida Payne.
Frida Payne.
Ollie Woodson. We had Ollie Woodson.
Yep.
We had a lot of fun. We brought them together. We cut the Philly tracks in Detroit, and we cut the Detroit tracks in Philly. We called it.
Brought everybody into different places and different environments.
No, we flew. We took a team out. In fact, for me, it was a family affair. And a friend of mine named Theo Primus. And my wife went out, and my granddaughter was out there because they all had a job. A couple of my daughters were there. My son was filming, and
that's right. I love that. The family helping out and working.
Yeah. And we put this thing together, and ran into in 2000 ran into this internet thing, and we had it marketed, ready to go, and the internet kind of stole it. Because once somebody got a copy of it, it was all over the place.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and that was 2006.
Oh, 2006. Okay.
Yeah. So you know what happened since then. But I'll say this thing it's mind blowing because we had so many people involved, and they came along, worked it out, and that was one of the things I dreamed of. It was a dream that came to me that should be done to honor one another.
You say it was also filmed. So do you have enough to do a documentary?
Yes.
Maybe get it over to Netflix or something. One of those channels, because this would be awesome to see.
Yeah.
See this.
You know, it was for me. It was so deep because my engineer Gene Leone was his first trip out to Detroit, and we got to meet the other engineers and the other musicians. And what happened? I know you got time running. What happened was when the guys from MFSB met the Funk Brothers, they started crying.
Wow.
It was emotional because They had never met each other before, but they heard the
They
music.
heard about each other, right?
Yeah, they heard the music, so they knew it was really an organic kind of a thing. You know, it was just, oh man, I've been playing you for years. Oh man, that lick you played here, man, I stole that lick from you, man. And we're going like that, you know. And then when you say we're gonna cut one of my tunes, like when the world's at peace. And they fall into dum 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 bang to the dum dum dum. It just started playing it. They knew all the material, so it was really a thing that just, it was a warm kind of a thing. You know, I'll never forget that experience.
Wow.
You know, there was no egos, no mess.
Just everybody coming together for the music.
Yeah,
Love of
exactly.
the music.
And we had a couple of folks that couldn't make it in, that wanted to come in. Levi Stubbs was ill during that time. And his daughters, I think it was Debbie, two of his daughters came in. David Ruffin's son showed up. They were not a part of the session. They wanted to see it. They wanted to be involved just to see it. Bobby Taylor was there, of course. Kim Weston was ill. She couldn't make it. Steve Mama just passed away, I believe, at that time too. But we were calling everybody in, you know.
What a great way to end the segment, because I think that this was a great project. I didn't know the history behind it, of how you brought the two together and what that meant.
Yeah.
And everything. So I can't wait to hear, and I would love to see the footage, man. And that book, I can't wait. Thank you for your contribution, for what you've done. And you're still here.
I'm still here. It's been an honor. I appreciate your kind words.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Thank you again. And I want everybody, thank you so much for joining us today for this incredible interview with Phil Hurtt. And, you know, this was just a great interview. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all next time. All right. Thank you.
Take care, my friend. God bless you.